This is not the sort of thing I typically expect to talk about. But it's on my mind. Even though my channel is filled and going to be filled with lots of trivial, silly stuff, that doesn't mean that this more serious stuff passes me by. And I kind of feel like people should be talking about this Islamic terrorism thing because while we still can, in a way, because in Canada they've just introduced a new law cracking down on Islamophobia. The EU is pushing behind the scenes, by stealth, to take over the internet. Same thing here. I mean, God knows who I'm going to vote for in the election, and it's like a choice of the least bad option. Labour are a bunch of insane communists led by a man who just doesn't have a clue how to lead a party, let alone the country. The Conservatives at least seem to be serious about pursuing the will of the people and pushing Brexit through and getting us the best deal possible, and actually acknowledging the democratic will of the people. But their manifesto also contains plans to crack down on, seize control of the internet again and crack down on free speech, because we can't have that apparently. Anyway, Manchester, we just had another horrible, senseless tragedy, and whatever, even if now we, magically come up with a solution to radical Islamic terror, and the people that died in Manchester, they're not going to live to see it. Even some people that survived are going to have life-changing injuries. It's too late for them. And I just we have to. How many more of these tragedies is it going to take before a certain type of person accepts that we need to do something about this? I hate Facebook. I've been on the verge of quitting it for a long time now, and I think very soon I will. I'm on there because there's a couple of people that's really the only way they communicate with me, and from necessity, otherwise I'd lose contact with them. But just the virtue signalling after every one of these tragedies that, we stand together, the terrorists will, and the media as well. I think, yesterday on a news website I saw, the typical, we're not afraid, we'll carry on. But I always envision like a line of people, and the terrorists are going down the line, shooting every person one by one, and after each gunshot, it's we're not afraid. We stand together. Bang. We're not afraid. We stand together. Bang. It just terrorism won't win. Bang. Terrorism won't win. Bang. Well, it will win if all you do is just stand there and express solidarity with each other, and otherwise take no action. It's a horrible problem, and one guy. I don't profess to know. It's whatever way out of the situation there is. It's going to be painful and hard, and but we've got to do something beyond this. Candles and vigils and teddy bears and flowers, and we've got to acknowledge that there is a problem when 99% of when attacks like these, apart from the IRA, I guess, in the 80s when I was growing up, a bit in the 90s, this was never, things like this were not commonplace, at least not here in Britain, at least not in the Western world, and now they are, and 99% of these attacks are perpetrated by people who claim to be. You can argue as to whether or not they are really, but people who claim to be Muslims. So there is something going on there, and trying to shout down people who say, "Hey, there's a connection. We should be trying to do something about this." this is going to keep happening. And what's more important, signalling that oh, you're not a racist, and how dare you try and suggest some kind of causal link? Well, I don't think it is all Muslims. I don't. But there is a problem with radical political Islam, and there is a problem even with people, moderate Muslims, and also the rest of us who just, although we might not be pushing for that, are kind of, sitting idly by and just allowing it to happen. We have to do something about this, or there will be more of these tragedies. And we can't pretend that this problem is not is like incomprehensible when there is obviously, when you've got 99% of these types of attacks in the West, and I think probably worldwide. I'll put some stats in the text below. I need to look that up. But I know it's the overwhelming majority of these attacks are perpetrated by members who profess to be of the Islamic faith. There is something going on there, and people who believe in open borders, who believe that any attempt to control immigration by here or in any Western country is bad. People who believe that all cultures are equal, regardless of how they treat, women, minorities, gays. I don't know how many more tragedies it's going to take for you to start to question that, but maybe until then, you could at least be open to the possibility that those who think differently are not all racists, but realists. There will be some supporters of. You look for supporters of any cause, any political party, and there will be some bad people, be they racists or extremists. There's always some violent fringe element to pretty much any movement. If you can call, the anti-immigration / Brexit rough grouping a movement. Just be open to the possibility that just wishing for things to be okay doesn't work in the real world. You can see, can't you, that the real world is not like that. I think these open borders people think that maybe in a way they love our country and think, hey, we're this great democracy, and women, gays, everyone's, it's a great place to be. So if we let people come here, then they'll see that, and everything will be fine. But that's not what happens in practice with what it is actually with a lot of immigrants to this country and elsewhere. But with some, they self-segregate, and instead of adapting to the host culture, they push back against it. And again, I'm not saying that Muslims as a group are responsible for this tragedy or any other, but a violent political strain of Islam is clearly a key part of this continuing problem, and just doing nothing apart from teddy bears, hashtags, candles, they won't defeat us. They will if we don't do anything. And finally, there will be some people who, as a result of this video, accuse me and people like me of politicising a tragedy. But these tragedies keep happening, and if you say, what you're really saying by that is don't analyse the tragedy, don't try and figure out why it's happening so that you can prevent it.